Hello YouTube, this is Dakota from Bowtied Media, and today we've got a brand new review of Riot Ten's Requiem for a Riot. Before we go any further, yes, this video was indeed voted on by the Bowtied gang, the channel members here on YouTube. If you want to join and support the channel a little bit and have a say in what videos get produced, join channel membership today. Yes, indeed, Riot Ten is officially here with a brand new full-length record titled Requiem for a Riot. I just gotta be upfront and straight up with the fact that this album was deeply anticipated, but for all the wrong reasons. Riot Ten as an artist does not have the greatest reputation, and I would argue that's rightfully so. Just in the past 3 years alone, I have closely been following every single new release and project from Riot Ten, and I will very plainly state that there are fewer than probably 5 tracks that I have genuinely enjoyed of his. Riot Ten has been memed to hell and back, it seems, already. So much so that the community has honored his music with the kind of fake subgenre name of slopstep. Yeah, it's pretty safe to say that heading into this newest record, expectations for this were fairly low. Just even last year, his Feral EP landed on my number 8 spot for the worst projects of the year list. But all of that could be washed away with one very, at least decent new album here, and we did not get that. We did not. Through a sea of questionable albums and EPs of the past, Requiem for a Riot might sadly be Riot Ten's worst attempt at creating a cohesive, high-quality, and entertaining record. With a 15-song track list and just over 30 minutes in length, this newest venture from Riot Ten sees his production falling into many of the same tropes that have plagued his career up to this point. Now, I may personally have a history of not really enjoying this particular flavor of bass music that is dominated by aggressive dubstep, short run times, party lyricism, and the constant push to hype up a crowd, but this is just another layer of slop. Maybe it's for the better, or maybe Chris just lives in an echo chamber of hype men, but this album truly cemented for me the fact that Riot Ten is not concerned whatsoever about receiving quality feedback. And honestly, if he wants to keep pumping out these dull, lackluster, aggressively bad records to keep the money coming in, power to him. There is clearly an audience for this kind of music somewhere out there. I just don't know where they are. But let's let the music speak for itself. Requiem for a Riot saw a third of the album released as singles with High Octane, To The Floor, Bass Bop, Bruh, and Threats, in that order. And I will say that these tracks do a solid job of encompassing the holistic sound of this record. A little rhythm, a little drum and bass, a little trap, and a lot of dubstep. But it was that first DNB single of High Octane where it all began, and honestly should have stopped. To me, High Octane is the best track on this record, and it's not even close. So much so that this is quite simply my favorite Riot Ten track ever. The track has a well-established vibe and tone while also embracing that intense production and short runtime. Yes, the track is incredibly short and the drops don't linger for much time, but within the time it does provide, the song is a little quirky. The car locking sound I think is obviously very silly, but really works in the context of the track and aligns with Riot Ten's typical style of carefree, mindless production. But after that first single dropped, I think the rest of the record really started to go downhill. 3 of the remaining 4 singles had fairly prominent features in the bass house scene, with Dioro on To The Floor, Tynan on Bruh, and Versa on Threats. And while each of these production features brought their own flair to their tracks, Riot Ten, and I would say rightfully so, was too dominating of a sound to let them really shine. Bruh is a straightforward Brittum track with little tonal variation, lots of memes, and melodies that are really hard to groove with. I do actually think that this is one of the stronger cuts from the record, but that's really not saying much here. I do think more than anything though, this song really showcases Riot Ten's lack of care for critical reception and being seen as a super serious musician. Because Tynan himself is already known for his silly, loud, memey tracks, so bringing him on for this production feature is not helping Riot Ten feel like a more serious artist. Furthermore, but not to quite the same extent, To The Floor brings Dioro into the fray, who has very much embraced that sentiment of unserious music. And I think there is a time and place for that style of music, and I do enjoy silly tracks from time to time, but it felt like heading into this album, Riot Ten was going for a more serious approach, tackling a genuinely well-esteemed project. And it appears that way because this thing has an intro, an interlude, and an outro. You wouldn't put in close to 5 minutes of tone and narrative establishing music if you weren't intentional about trying to tell a real story. And other than the intro, which acts as a prelude to Riot, the first real track, the interlude and outro don't even really line up with the tracks post or prior. They sort of just exist. Other than the overarching soundscape of loud and aggressive production, there are many times where the tracklist just doesn't gel or transition smoothly from one to another. I quite frankly think that this would have been a lot stronger of a project had Riot 10 embraced a more mixtape format and foregone any attempt at narrative or overarching themes. Because the failed attempt at doing so hurt the record more than it would have if it just didn't attempt it at all. Another gripe I have with this record, trying to have some semblance of story, is that you don't put remixes or VIPs or alternative mixes into an album you are trying to tell a story through. When you put in a VIP to one of the main singles from the record into the track list, I know you aren't super serious about trying to convey any deeper meaning as a story because you already would have told what you wanted to tell in the original track. Now, there are circumstances where this could work, but it just doesn't here. So this is where my boomerness might really shine through here, but I deeply dislike the hype-up lyricism and vulgar verses. Again, I get that these are festival-focused tracks with an emphasis on pumping up a crowd, but you can do that without lyrics that I will literally not read on a camera. Songs like Crash Out, Threats, and Riot should be prime time for Riot 10 here. They are tracks that have a more standard rhythm and Bridom style that Riot 10 listeners have become quite accustomed to, and a genre that they are coming back to Riot 10 to hear. So it's just a flat-out shame that these are hands down the weakest links of this project. Even though Rhythm is characterized by intentionally minimalistic sound design and simple melodies, Riot 10 is doing so little with each of these tracks that the emptiness feels like an unending abyss. There are multiple times on each of these tracks where he literally just lets one singular sound play out for what feels like an eternity for seemingly no reason, whether it's a pre-drop fake out, the main melody, or outro. It truly feels like Riot 10 put in the littlest amount of effort into some of these tracks and just called it a day.
Fuck it.
Threats with Versa is sadly my least favorite Riot 10 song of all time, and a sad recognition of the state of bass music in some spheres. There legitimately feels like there are a total of like 10 inputs needed to produce this track with how little there is going on here. I will say though, one of the few decent movements on this record though is the back-to-back to sort of back run of Latin-inspired and honoring tracks like Mexahop through To The Floor and landing on Bussin' Up. And I don't think that these tracks are individually much good, but I do think that we got a glimpse of where this record could have gone. This is the only moment throughout this album where there was any semblance of a sonic throughline. You've got your Spanish vocals, mariachi-like instrumentation, and reggae beats that feel like they all belong together. And by the time Bussin' Up comes around, it's already lost the plot a fair amount by that point, but is one of the stronger cuts that feels like a decent Riot 10 track. But when it's all said and done, how do I feel about this record as a whole? Well, to put it bluntly, not great. Riot 10 feels like he's in a constant struggle to try and produce something that tells a great story, but also put out something so carefree and mindless to be enjoyed exclusively at a major festival or dance club. And to his credit, I just don't think Riot 10 really cares. I think he's doing his own thing, trying new ideas, and putting out songs he wants to party with his friends to. But when critically evaluating a record like Requiem for a Riot, there is so little to latch onto. The melodies are dull, the mixing is flat, the production is bland and repetitive, and there's just no sense of tonal or sonic cohesion. Requiem for a Riot embodies a lot of the struggles I have with modern bass music, in particular this aggressive and crass rhythm palette. I am just not feeling this album whatsoever. Other than maybe one track, there is nothing that I listen to here and go, oh yeah, that's pretty nice. I want to play that again. I just struggle with the musicality of the whole thing and how little quality control seemingly went into this track list. I do not enjoy this album. But with that being said, I'm going to give Riot Ten's Requiem for a Riot a Bowtied 2 out of 10. Let me know what you guys think of this album. Did you not like it? Did you really enjoy it? Are you somewhere in between? I'm curious to hear what you have to say on any and all thoughts in the comment section below. But other than that, I'm Dakota from Bowtied Media, and I'll see you guys in another video.